You're listening to The Reclaimed Life, a podcast about recognizing manipulation, reclaiming your voice, and rebuilding a life that actually feels like your own. I'm Rachel Paxton, an author, ordained chaplain, and certified mental health coach. And each week, I'll explore the patterns, dynamics, and turning points that help people rediscover who they truly are. Welcome back to The Reclaimed Life. Today I want to talk about something I think many people are quietly experiencing right now: the exhaustion of always being mentally and emotionally on. Not just physically tired, but internally carrying pressure, overthinking, anticipating, worrying, and never fully feeling at rest. In this episode, we're talking about chronic mental exhaustion, overthinking during the day and at night, survival mode, surrender, and learning how to hand over the things we were never meant to carry alone to God. So if your mind has felt heavy lately, this conversation's for you. Lately, I've been realizing how many people are functioning in a constant state of internal pressure while calling it normal. Not necessarily panic, not necessarily visible anxiety, just always mentally on, always thinking, always anticipating, always trying to stay ahead of problems, always carrying responsibility, always emotionally alert. And I think many people have lived this way for so long that they don't even realize how exhausted they actually are anymore. One of the things that's really been standing out to me lately is how different overthinking can look during the day versus at night. During the day, overthinking often looks productive. It can look responsible, prepared, helpful, high functioning. You're mentally running through conversations, managing everyone's needs, trying to prevent problems before they happen. Thinking 10 steps ahead, carrying emotional weight nobody else even realizes you're carrying. A lot of people become so used to living in this constant internal state of management that they stop questioning it. It just becomes who they are. But then nighttime comes, and suddenly there's no more noise, no more distractions, no more movement, no more tasks to keep the mind occupied. And all the thoughts people were out running during the day suddenly get louder. The replaying, the worrying, the overprocessing, the what ifs, the conversations you wish had gone differently, the fear, the pressure, the anticipation, the responsibility you feel for outcomes you can't actually control. I think that's why so many people can be physically exhausted and still struggle to actually rest. Because rest and safety are not always the same thing to the nervous system. Some people can physically stop moving while internally still feeling completely on. And honestly, this doesn't come from weakness. I think many people learn to live this way because at some point in life, being hyper aware felt necessary. Sometimes it comes from chronic stress, sometimes from trauma, sometimes from spiritual pressure, sometimes from constantly trying to keep everyone else okay, sometimes from environments where people felt responsible for maintaining peace, preventing conflict, or holding everything together. And after enough years of living that way, the mind stops knowing how to fully let go. I think a lot of people secretly believe if I stop thinking about it, something bad will happen. Or if I stop carrying this, everything will fall apart. But one thing I'm slowly learning is that constantly carrying things mentally does not actually give us control over them. It only gives us the illusion of control while exhausting us emotionally. And I think this is where surrender becomes deeply personal. Not in a performative spiritual way, not in a just pray more way, not in a shame-filled you should trust God better way. I mean genuinely learning to release the weight of outcomes we were never meant to carry alone. Learning to recognize I'm not God. I can't control people. I can't control every outcome. I can't prevent every hard thing. I can't mentally rehearse my way into peace. And honestly, I think many people are exhausted because they've spent years trying to carry responsibilities that belong to God instead. That realization has been really humbling for me. because I've realized how easy it is to hold things with a tightly clenched fist while calling it wisdom or responsibility or discernment. When underneath it all, sometimes it's fear, fear of what happens if we let go, fear of uncertainty, fear of not being prepared, fear of pain, fear of things falling apart. But peace doesn't come from controlling everything. Sometimes peace begins when we finally admit, I cannot carry this anymore. I think that's why the Bible talks so much about surrender, rest, trust, and laying burdens down. Not because God is asking people to stop caring, but because human beings were never created to carry the emotional weight of the entire world on their shoulders. And honestly, I think some people have been emotionally bracing for so long, they don't even remember what it feels like to fully exhale anymore. But I do think healing can begin there. Not all at once, not perfectly, and not instantly, but slowly learning to stop rehearsing fear, to stop carrying imaginary futures, to stop taking responsibility for everyone else's outcomes, and to trust that God can hold what we cannot. I think many people are tired in ways sleep alone cannot fix. And I think that exhaustion deserves compassion, not shame. So if your mind has felt heavy lately, if you've struggled for your mind and your body to ever fully feel off, and you've been carrying pressure silently for a long time, I just want to remind you today, you're allowed to put down what you are never meant to carry alone. And maybe real rest begins there. Thank you for listening to The Reclaimed Life. If something in this episode resonated with you, you're not alone. Many people are beginning to recognize unhealthy patterns in relationships, systems, and environments, and discovering that reclaiming their voice is possible. In future episodes, I'll explore topics like recognizing manipulation, understanding narcissistic dynamics, rebuilding self trust, and learning how to create a life that actually feels like your own. If you'd like to explore more of these ideas, you can visit my website at thereclaimlifepodcast.com, where I share additional writing, resources, and future episodes of the show. Until next time, take a moment to listen to your intuition, trust what you're beginning to see, and remember that reclaiming your life often begins with one honest question. This is the Reclaimed Life.